So, welcome to the post-lunch session. And I'm sure, the toughest part is to keep everyone awake. And that's what, has been the discussion with the panel. So these were the opening remarks that I had with all my panelists. But nevertheless, we'll make it interesting. And, we'll really look forward for all the attention and cooperation from you. So myself, Gaurav Somani, I welcome you to the today's session. And, the topic for the discussion is how blended learning can change the dynamics of teacher-student relationship. So, as it is, we have seen that, education has advanced towards blended learning with, pandemic happening. So, all in industry and educationists planned that this could have, this phenomenon could have happened to India in somewhere around, say, 2024 or 25, but we are already seeing this happening in 2022. And, we also thank the regulators. So UGC has now, given a lot of stress on digital universities. So that would again, give a big push to blended learning as such. So we have with us eminent panelists for the day here, Dr. R. Mudhol, Vice-Chancellor, BLDE University, and Dr. Kuldeep Kumar Raina, Vice-Chancellor, MS Ramaiah University. We also have Dr. Dwarika Prasad Uniyal, Pro Vice-Chancellor, RV University, Bangalore. Dr. Dinesh Nishikant, Director, Faculty of Management Studies, Jain deemed to be University. So, and Professor Bishnu Pal, Dean, School of Engineering and Academics from Mahindra University, Hyderabad. So, thank you all for joining here. And, as we kick off and, understand, would like to know your opening remarks on, how blended learning is changing the overall dynamics between teacher-student relationship. And then we could, move towards a deeper discussions. Sir, yourself, please. So management, angle of being into deemed, the blended learning mode.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. We initially thought that we will have discussions amongst ourselves only, but thank you for leaving your lunch and coming here to listen to us. We don't think we have great things to talk about, but I guess we will definitely have in the panel great experience to discuss about various experiences we might have over the years across the institutions we would have served. So yeah, the whole word blended itself needs to be understood in a particular context. What do we mean by blended, right? Is it online, is it offline, is it some online, some offline, is it all online, little offline? What are we trying to talk about when we talk about blended is the question to be asked amongst ourselves. And secondly, is it a medium? Is it a pedagogical tool? Is it something which we have to completely reimagine post-pandemic as academic institutions? And then the larger impact of technology, the way learning has been impacted or has moved or kind of redefined, and have we as institutions or academicians have been able to cope up with that? This is digital first generation which we deal with. I remember when I started teaching, I used to teach students who were born in 1977. Today, they are born in 2007. And a lot more has changed in all these years, in last 30 years, if you start to look back about how, and very reason why somebody comes to an academic institution today. So very expectation itself of a student who has become a student itself needs to be challenged and questioned. And hence, when you have a screen, what is the relationship which then develops, because they can switch you off anytime. You are no longer master of the class, you're no longer master of your subject. They can contradict you 1,000 times in a conversation by parallelly Googling about the information you're trying to dish out to them. One of the biggest challenges have been, and I'm sure all the teachers are sitting here in last 2 years, have been how to make students open up their camera while we are teaching them through Zoom or any other digital platform, so that at least we can have a face-to-face conversation. It's like you're talking to a blank screen. और फिर blank screen से गुफ्तगू करना इतना आसान नहीं होता. I think that is something which we really has changed. The relationship and the power equation is one of the biggest challenges, and the biggest shifting of equation has happened. Now we're trying to regain it through blended. We're trying to regain a bit to make it online as useful, as interesting as an offline class would be. But has the behavior changed permanently? My experience says yes. Last 2 years, my students today come back to me in an offline class and say, sir, can we go back to online, please? It's too much an effort to come to a classroom. I have to travel 90 kilometers, take 2 metros, 3 autos to reach a classroom, only to be taught the same kind of content I could have either picked up through Google, or you would have easily opened up your machine at 7:55 for an 8 o'clock class, and I would have done that. I think these are the challenges, Gaurav, initial ones, in terms to regain the ground which you have lost, in terms of interactivity, in terms of becoming relevant into the lives of the students.
So, Bishnupal sir, would like to understand from you, sorry. Yeah. So, sir, you've traveled all the way from Hyderabad to be here, for the physical event, and he's not in a blended mode. He could have decided to join us online, which would not have been that, I can say, enriching. So, sir, what is it that you feel as an experience? Because as we were discussing, it came up during the discussion that you've already started implementing. So, what are the pros and what are the real challenges that you feel have come up, and were there some possible solutions?
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. You see, we started online almost immediately after the lockdown. Within 3 to 4 days, we took, and we started online lectures for all. And because I come from the engineering school, see, blended learning is a buzzword today. I get almost every alternate day an advertisement or an email, advertisement from an EDTECH company that they have both from US and then India. But so blended learning is something, I think it is not a single solution which fits all. So one of the features of the blended learning, as the people claim, is the flexibility. But I would make a blunt statement here. I'm a classical teacher. I spent 35 years at IIT Delhi teaching physics. I still feel there's nothing alternate to face-to-face learning. When you at least from science and engineering point of view, when you explain something and see the front benchers, you look at them, they brighten up and they get, if you feel that by seeing them you can understand that the message or the transfer of knowledge has taken place. That is very difficult, in my opinion, on the online mode. Also, sometimes I teach very first year, second year classes where the number of students are very large, about 400. It is very difficult to get or gauge their understanding on an online mode. Whereas in the face-to-face, you could have done that, at least from the front 3-4 branches, or when you are lecturing, you walk through the class and so on. There's a very different experience. When I did the online, I found it very stressful because I'm just talking to the screen of my laptop. We cannot allow the students to also be shown because that kills the bandwidth. We do not have so much of bandwidth to make use of. I'm also a telecom person, so I understand that. So experience is not very great so far, but with so much of efforts going on around the world, I am hoping that there will be more better optimized solution coming. See, you have problems in online we faced is that some students say that they are in the very rural area, that they don't have the bandwidth. They suddenly, due to the power cut, they don't have the access to the net. So this has been observed. This is also the kind of feedback that my colleagues at IIT Delhi, where I used to work, they do also get. But since you are, I mean, the effort is more on the teacher's part, I think. And since the thing gets, your lecture gets automatically, usually, if you allow, get recorded, which you can share with the students, so they can also learn it later. But the problem is that since they know that it will be also shared, I'm telling you all from my personal experience for last 2 years. Many students, unless they are very serious students, many students take it very lightly. Oh, anyway, the recorded lecture will be coming, so I can pick up. No, you cannot pick up by just learning as a young boy. I don't agree that it is possible to do that. We also get sometimes this request that why don't you get back to the online. You cannot monitor every student whether they are really listening during the online. They may be online, but they are not there. They may be sipping coffee in the kitchen or something like that. So it's very difficult to ensure that what the efforts that you are putting in your lecture is really being used by all students. Those who are serious students, that is different issue. They are serious either online or offline.
Correct.
So these are the issues. We do not have enough bandwidth across the country. I am actually specialist in optical fiber communication, even though government is trying to do a lot, but it is still not, bandwidth is not sufficient enough
Correct.
to have online across the country.
Okay, okay.
So these are some of my
Yes.
experiences.
So, after understanding the management point of view and, that old school thought point of view as well, which is very important. So, would like to understand from Mudhol sir. So, he has been, touching medical side of the learning. So, could you also help us understand what has been your experience and so giving a slight touch around, what is the emotional quotient, because teaching is not only just about, knowledge or, getting notes or, as sir mentioned, going through recorded lectures, but teaching also involves a lot of emotions. So, could you throw light on that?
Good afternoon, all friends and my panelists. We are the one of the first college to start online. Nearly 1,700 students locked down, and in few days after the lockdown we started. And today also we have got 225 Ukraine students are with us, sometimes offline, online also, 225. But they are not disturbing regular students. This in medical, my friends are there, Dr. Shetty and Dr. Vijayapura. We know that this blended learning is advantage in some areas. In medical, I am telling you, I am from the health university. Whatever clinical we pass today, what we do, we teach them bedside. What is the operation tomorrow going on? And what is the diagnosis we have done? And they will also examine few of them. And afterwards, we'll investigate. Imaging and all. My friend Dr. Shetty has to give a lot of diagnostic input to and students will see that images. And after that, we'll come to some conclusion. And then they will enter in the operation theater. Now we have got restriction of 5 students, 10 students, and remaining will sit with the CCTV and they see it. So this medical education, the seeing the patient, diagnosing, then the taking to the operation theater, seeing the operation, and later on post-operative ward recovery. Blended, sometimes it is okay where operation they are seeing very in a good way. Earlier when we were students, we used to just peep in, not able to see anything, abdomen operations and all. Today with laparoscopes and all, very good picture they see. Now emotional quotient here, what the professor is teaching, when patient says pain, how professor he takes away, how he soothes them. All this will not be online. Online it is not possible, but it is the advantage. The technology, digitalization is advantage. But nothing was there during COVID, something we could do it, medical students. But we believe into the teachers are the role models. The professors in the medical college are the role models. And the communication is one of the most important, that patient relatives, patients, they have to be communicated. And is this is equivalent to, and emotional quotient, I said, we have to have sympathy, empathy, and their economic status, what is there, we have to give concession, or we have to make free. So many things are involved. Student is learning, writing the records, and soothing the patient, and we have to tell that what is the consent we are taking, what is the operation we are doing. All this is, I think, the blended mode is okay to understand, but the other thing, humanitarian consideration, emotional quotient, and students also so many times they are stressed, and how to soothe them also. Many times in the operation theater, they are pressing the blood, they fall down sometimes, hypovolemia. And these are all the situations, how do you manage? And that student is a part of this. He is learning. So in medical colleges, I think blended teaching learning is good enough, but the certain things which cannot be online possible, like the patient consent, communication, attitude, ArdorComm, and now evidence-based. How do you show the evidence? That I have removed the gallstone, I'll show that. That is evidence.
Correct.
And imaging we have seen.
Correct.
So these are some of the challenges. And teachers also now, the teacher-student relation, now they are drifting away. Whatever teacher personality is there, he is a role model, that aspect is going. Humanitarian aspect is going. Communication, if you do too much online, communication is going on.
Correct.
So many things, I think my friends should agree that how do we go about health science, and in particular medical science, these are the things. I think student-teacher relation, as sir said, I think traditional education of ours, didactic lectures, small group teaching, and the other things
Yes.
should be blended with the technology. And
Correct.
we can give, somewhere we have to balance. And these are the forums we can learn from the management, we can learn from the general education. And other day we were in Varanasi, we learnt lot from the, Vijay Raghavan sir was there with me, and Kuldeep sir was there. We have learnt lot of things. Is it possible for a university to do all, or how much we can do? And we have to customize to our, the core subjects and core issues, like medical, what it has to do. And it is very difficult by regulation, by rules, by this thing, and it is the wisdom of the heads of the department, heads of the institute, that how much you have to blend is a real challenge. And it is, something is good, something is not good. That's what, it is a real challenge to the students also and teachers also.
Correct. So coming to you, sir, would like to understand what is the effective way of creating a blended program. Because we've seen, we've heard that cost is sometimes, gets saved to a greater extent. Bandwidth is a challenge. And, the very first opening remarks, and, that's very true, that what percentage of the program should be online, what should be, in the classrooms. So could you please help us understand if you have.
Okay, good afternoon. I'm Dinesh here from Jain University. Thanks, first of all, for giving me an opportunity, and with the esteemed colleagues here. Everybody has spoken, and all of us know what everybody is speaking about. But I'll just, what Gaurav has asked me, I'll come to that little bit later. But
Sure.
first thing is, I want to say this, that what a presence of energy can do, technology can't. मंदिर का पुजारी और टीचर का अल्टरनेटिव नहीं है. Okay.
Very, apt to start. Definitely.
Now coming back to, I'll put the situation in two scenarios. One is the concept of how the business is getting transformed. To be very honest with you, even the corporates, if corporates are here, they are also not aware to at what extent their businesses are changing. And then you expect the teacher community to understand those changes and teach. Now there's a huge gap here. Second thing is that to bridge the gap between university education, industry requirements, all this blah, 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 I think all of us have heard this. But then my one question comes to my mind is, are teachers capable of that? The teachers who are teaching for such a long time with the chalk and talk method, all of a sudden are being told that you have to get into the online mode and you have to be interesting. So all these things are happening and the teacher is trying his level best, and hats off to all the academic community that they adapted this, they did it, effect, results, question mark. Now coming back to again the teacher, the same teacher we are talking about. Now I agree to the panel earlier, one of the professors made a mention that, and the topic what we have mentioned about the student relationship. Kahan teacher ke paas time hai relationship ka? The thing is that you have your NBA, you have your NRF, you have CRISIL, you have India Today, you have NAC, you have TLEP, COPO mapping. Arey isme hi rahenge, padhayenge kabhi. And then when we are looking into all this, at that point of time, what happens? Asynchronous, synchronous. How effective is your asynchronous going to happen? How are we going to do that? Then NEP comes in. NEP, with all respect, everything is fine. But who is understanding that implementation? We are all discussing. And then we will leave the dais. But then how are we going to implement? What we did, we have done a very nice structure, copied from Google very nicely from all the universities, said that this is my credits, everybody is claiming that this belongs to me. And what is happening? Implementation is zero. Outcome-based education, malum nahi. And then after that COPO mapping, we are great. We are very good in documentation. All of us have to pat our back that we are extremely good at documentation and we are so good at presentation. We can show anything on the screen and say that this is what we are. Now coming back to this blended learning, let me be very clear that you have to take the advantages of the synchronous and unsynchronous. We have to understand what is to be taught on the online mode. But to be very honest, my dear friends, I still believe that the social interaction should be there. The student should be in front of you. The student should wish you. You should wish the student and then tell them that this is the assignment and tomorrow face-to-face interaction. Now that is education according to me, and that is why you find that you will develop relationships. Otherwise, asynchronous mein hi relationship rahe.
Thank you. So, Raina sir, to you. Sir, you've been dealing with a large volume of students, I would say. So, because, then the dynamics do change, when the student community is large or the size of the organization and, multiple campuses. So, do you see an advantage of, one of your faculties in one of your, so I'm just, trying to probe you with this question, but would like to understand. So, you have a faculty at one of your campuses with, he is expert in, say, XYZ subject. And, he, while he's teaching, the same class is being attended from other colleges. So, and sometimes he's on the other campus and vis-a-vis. So, volume management and blended learning.
Thank you, Gauravji, and namaskar to all distinguished participants who, despite having a wonderful lunch, are still listening to the panel third, and that too in the blending, for the blended system. I was hopeful, I have a wonderful panel with me, that Gaurav will give me a chance to speak first. But he proved that near the church farther from God. So he took all those wavelengths in sequence and finally came to me. That means closeness is always really which you look for. Friends, certainly, there have been many discussions over the last 2 years or so, what to do, what not to do. But there is not a single platform which gives us the rightest of the directions. Are we confused or we are being confused is really something where we have to sometimes deliberate and discuss on. If you look at the innovations that have happened in the learning systems, if you go back to 100 years and see that there were changes and education has always got some new thresholds for the measurement, learning measurements, at the same time new tools for learning. So starting from a small slate, which no one uses today, to go to the pads, it is one evolution of the technology. When there's an evolution, it must have its consequences. Had these tablets not been there, had these laptops not been there, probably we would not have been talking about the education which is in the online mode. Remotely connecting people certainly it has been there, it is not new, we are not new to it. If you look at the best of the schools, whether they are B schools or the technology schools, online courses have been the part of the learning system. In that, COVID gave us a kind of a spike. Are you ready? We were not, frankly speaking. Most of the universities where looking at the classroom teaching is the only modus in which I have the capability, accessibility, and the availability between student and the teacher. But COVID proved otherwise. Even if you are not in the class, student is not in the class, nothing fails down, understanding may be somewhat hampered. So therefore this blend, a blending mixer at home does lot many things. It crushes. In that crushing, I think teachers also got crushed and the students also at the same time. But it gave us a new tool of understanding, opening the opportunities that there is education beyond the classroom as well. In my opinion, that the students, are they ready to listen to us? One. When we look at Education 4.0 as the futuristic way to go forward, I think we have to be student-centric than what I always know. Probably it has to be now a different story. In our lifetime, as students, we used to go to libraries, look at the literature, look at the books, sometimes prepare the notes, and equip us to sit in the examination. Today, a small device is the library, whether you call it e-library, whether you call the information source or whatever, it is there. Now, how to convert that information in the best possible way? One way is, come to the class, listen to me because I know better than you. But today a teacher faces challenges. Student sometimes knows more, he has more information than a teacher has. I am witty to many such occasions when a teacher was teaching and students at the back, we are opening up the mobile phones and seeing what is written in Wikipedia. So that is one mode. So friends, blended mode, in my opinion, will remain. It will not go away. Because this KIDA, the virus has gone into the human genetic engineering, that this is not the only way, come to the class and listen to me. I think another aspect is now, there has to be a partial mode of learning through blending system. People may come, people may go, and that is going to remain. When we talk about connecting different disciplines and the different specializations, that is where we have to draw a demarcation line. And this line could be those professional subjects wherein you cannot manage only listening. Can we take them to the prayogshalas, the laboratories? I think that is where it will help us. Our university, the Ramaiah University of Applied Sciences, we have a lot of diversity, and I sometimes feel that when we look at the new education policy and looking at the multidisciplinarity, Ramaiah truly is a multidisciplinary institution, starting from medical, engineering, design, law, and so many things. How we can create that common denominator, that what is to be taught and what will be learned through the online mode or the remote learning. But certainly, my friend said, and many of you must have heard from the very beginning, that we cannot leave experiments to the online learning. Government of India did create certain platforms which were the virtual labs. They were virtual undoubtedly, most precise, best, but it did not give the scale of learning that a student should have got. We managed 2 years, passing people, but I tell you, at Ramaiah University, we asked people, even after you have completed the requirement for the partial award of the degree, come during the vacation period, go back to that experimentation. So what cannot be seen, do we believe it? Sometimes yes, sometimes not. That is an illusion. In my opinion, connecting people is very, very important. Blending education is going to remain, whether we like it or dislike it. What is going to be the best way to translate best of the practices so that the learner understands? And the person who is teaching, he has to also upscale himself, upgrade himself. Otherwise, it will become a great disaster. Thank you very much, Gauravji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for, giving us the perspective and, especially from the multidisciplinary point of view. Now, sir, one question, and, this is very much personal because we as industry, we are evaluating and, we want the best of the talents to work with us, best of the talents to deliver. And, this has been a very common phenomena. I am sure, industry friends in the arena would also agree that COVID batch or pandemic batch was, something that's been in the mind. So, shortlistings from HR will be, sir, he's completed his management in pandemic. So, there's still that skepticality in the mind that, whether he would have, learnt, or is that degree come to him for the namesake? So what are the measures that, the question here is, what are the measures that, institutions would take so that those students, though as per UGC, the digital universities that now will be coming up will be treated at par with the full-time universities. So it's good to be on paper, and good to say that it's being in part. But जो sir ने बोला कि दिमाग में कीड़ा है, तो वो so how will that be addressed by academic institutions that yes, this student of mine who's been a digital student, or he's been his learning has been in blended mode, is equally competent with, and or even far more superior, I can say, whatever way. But the quality wise, he's apt for the industry. And especially when we talk about industries which requires high precision.
Gaurav, let me be the closest one now to answer your wonderful
Sure,
question.
sure, sir.
I tell you, you see, it depends on profession to profession. In some circumstances, there is no problem at all. I think corporates will accept, especially when it comes to the learning software tools. I think why we have seen the successes of whether it is EdTech or the IT sector companies, because there is not much you have to come to lab only and learn.
Correct.
But there are certain professions wherein hardware tasks
Yes.
are there, medical
Yes.
practitioners there.
Yes.
It can't be done that way. What I think, we have been deliberating in our senior leadership as well. I think universities cannot work from 9 to 5 system. We need to extend our timings. We need to have the flexible approach of providing accessibility to students for the infrastructure and the facilities that we have on our campuses. That is going to be one way. Everything cannot be taught in 1 hour. Today, it can be less, it can be more. But when it comes to experiential learning, I would say there's a lot universities have yet to think of and put in the right practice. Second is, whether the degree will be, the discrimination that this is COVID degree, this is not COVID degree. I think people have to work a bit harder, students in particular, to prove that this is not which has come of free of cost to me. There has to be, for which we, the institutions, have also to come forward, ask them, come on, if you need some learning experiences, we are here to help you. We are here to support you. I think together we can make a difference felt. Thank you.
Correct. Sir.
Okay. I could pose a counter question to industry. Were you not the COVID corporate for 2 years? Especially the services, you were also working from home. Who were there to evaluate you except your output? I think your output speaks.
Yes.
If your process is being followed, and if you have been, recommending that particular university or a business school or a college based on the input of the student, as well as the process and the rigor and the curriculum they've been doing it, just because they happen to be not on campus and you're evaluating saying that it's a COVID batch, and I have my suspicions that they would not have learnt as much as somebody would have in the conceptual part of it, not
Correct.
necessarily on the
Correct.
peer learning part of it, or maybe in terms of enjoying the campus part of it. I think they were enjoying outside, they were doing their own parties and things like that. They were not doing it on campus. But the experiences in terms of learning, I personally believe many organizations in the colleges actually adapted. Second question is about the very premise of how do you define learning? How would people learn? And I would go back to our Shastras, which says there are stages of learning. Shravan, Smaran, Manan, Chintan, Abhyas, Dhyan. Listening, memorizing, thinking, reflection, practice or action, and then supreme one is through you create new knowledges, meditation. Now, if even during blended form or online form or an offline form, or if pedagogy is mindful of this process, I'm sure the learning outcomes would be much more and better. Much more and better. And that is fundamentally has to be changed. The mere lecture method is dead. Long live the lecturer. I think that is something needs to be thought through across disciplines. Would it be the discipline of management? Would it be discipline of engineering or medicine or pharmacology or even performing arts? I think the whole way we imagine how things are taught versus how things to be learned now by student body or the participants around it is to be thought through a lot more. And hence, how blended is not about using Zoom or MS Team or there is a lecture happening and there is interaction. The blended needs to be redefined and thought and understood little differently. What level technology input is needed for listening, for
Correct.
pre-class read,
Yes.
for example. At what element of technology needs to be for peer-to-peer learning? I think through Zoom groups, what is it called? Breakout rooms.
Breakout
Also that is
rooms.
possible, okay, across various places where people are. How that technology is now aiding, like in medical, for example, certain things, like I keep remembering the Munna Bhai incident, sir, puri body leke aao. Right? वो body दिखती नहीं है, आधी body दिखती है, तो circuit को phone करके मुन्ना भाई body लेके आ, that kind of a thing. So now technology has helped to people to kind of at least understand it in that particular way. Thirdly, one of the biggest challenges for all of us is not just the quantity of faculty, but the quality of faculty. Who would be teaching that at a consistent level at that global scale? Now, with that technology, with blended platforms, a lot of EdTech companies are there, that could be made a lot more consistent, where there's listening. A passive consumption could be outsourced a lot more to the online part of it. Asynchronous, synchronous could be separate. But is education forcing the student to solve problems? That's where the teacher would come in, as Professor Dinesh has talked about. There is no substitute to that, okay? Are we encouraging students in our classroom? It could be any kind of classroom to create new solutions to the problem. Are we teaching them to ask questions rather than just seeking solutions which are there so Google is garbage if the question is garbage, right?
Yes.
How do you teach them to ask difficult questions so that you can solve problems rather than just learning, memorizing, and then evaluating something which you have taught? So,
Correct.
So your evaluation is competent enough or incompetent enough based on how you have taught rather than what is the capability or the learnability of the student.
Yes.
I think that premise has to be challenged by all of us sitting in this room, because we are part of a larger ecosystem to make our students learn better for a better tomorrow.
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct, sir.
Okay, about the recruitment when Gaurav was asking, I wanted to ask a counter question to him. And the question is that, did you dilute your recruitment process? No. So you have always chosen the best guys.
Correct, sir.
Yeah. So what has happened is, if it was a COVID batch, then what you have done is that you have gone harsh with the students, maybe twice the better.
Correct.
And then you have chosen always the best. So that is the first thing.
Yes.
Second part of it is that, the second question is that how many students came to you? Because now, after this, what has happened is that all the students, if you just go to the class, and all my friends will agree this, that they all want to become job providers rather than job seekers. So they don't want to come to you. Now, what are they looking into? That they want to get into technology, whether it's a flop product, whether it's a hit product, let us look into it. But look at this, that how the mentality is changing. And with all this, what I'm trying to say is that in NEP also, as you know, that it is the practical exposure and the practitioners coming to the classes, the corporates entering into the education industry on a major scale. Good days are coming to all the teachers. Let me be very clear about this, that this is really going to, because the big houses are going to get into education, and it is going to really become a boom. And the last part of it is that what I want to tell you is that these concepts, what we are looking at, that the education industry becoming such a boom, and the education industry becoming such a innovative concept. So at that point of time, the recruitment or the entrepreneurial thinking, whatever they have, the concept is that the students are getting into the entrepreneurial thinking nature.
Correct.
Now, if at all we want answer for NEP, entrepreneurship is the answer. If they start earning money, the success of the teacher and the institute is going to work.
Sure, sir. So, the one area that we've seen that definitely, sir, from a standard evaluation perspective, not that will not be, or grades may not be of matter, but we'll have to really focus on outcomes. What is the outcome of that particular student by achieving or completing a particular program for, say, for so many hours that he has spent. Definitely. And yes, sir, I do agree that what we evaluate today has been the problem solving approach of that student, whether he is able to, because, and this has been a boon to a lot of students, because earlier it used to be what, he is a student from, or, lot of, see, we're talking about the large corporates where, their absorption was, say, 5,000, 10,000 a year, and they used to only reach the marquee institutions. But now, with all of this, this phenomena has grossly changed.
Look at your ratio, people who are working in your industry. If at all, if you have a guy who is working with you for more than 5 years, you are very lucky. Now, this is how things are moving in. So you will find that the entrepreneurial nature is getting into the kids, and you'll find something or the other. They want to start earn money. That's all. This is how, and if we are going to teach them how to earn money, I think so, this exercise, what you are doing, is going to actually be fruitful.
Correct, sir.
As far medical is concerned, I think whether those candidates' degrees or they were experience were good in this 2 years, if we think the postgraduates are more exposed, but one kind of thing, that is a respiratory infection, COVID infection, and HRCT, all those things. That is the type of thing we expose. But they were overworked, very stressed, and there was no gap for them, all those things. And many of them, once, twice, thrice, they become positive also.
Yes.
This is the post-graduation, this thing. We cannot discriminate. As we have given the degree as per the norms and all, and they are relevant. And as far as medical is concerned, all of them have got better jobs than the what otherwise they would have got. And
Correct.
as far as MBBS is concerned, what they did was the third-year students started preparing for the NEET. Leave apart their online classes, they started. Some of them did well also in the last year.
Yes.
So, if you see the as medical this thing, we cannot discriminate also, but some of them have done extra work for the NEET and all, and really postgraduates have overworked. What they have missed is, I am telling you, they would have elective surgeries. Elective surgeries, nearly 2 years, only emergency they did it. Elective surgeries, a lot of elective surgeries they missed, surgical branches.
Yes.
So in this comparison, I think then they have to learn as a SR. Now we have appointed them as a SR. They have to compensate whatever practical they did not get the skills. That's one thing. And those who were interns and all, we have definitely used them in flu clinic and all other areas. They have got one-time, lifetime experience, you can say, pandemic has taught, and lot of innovations occurred. See, every one intern also has done some innovation. PG has done some innovation. And some oxygen therapy, sensors, so many. And their engineering partners, they talked each other. So many things came up. And now the digitally, the sitting at their home only, they are seeing that what is the pulse rate, what is the BP, and all that also apps they developed.
Correct.
And lot of war rooms and camera, all that. So many things have happened.
Yes.
Good things have happened. And I think our products are some areas very relevant. And all of them have got the job. And our two vice-chancellors have to agree that
Yes.
there is a pandemic has taught in the medical much more.
Correct,
much more
correct, sir.
innovation.
Definitely.
But what we missed is elective. What we used to be elective surgeries, a elective thing, that we have missed. Okay?
Sure. So, Professor Pal, if you could, help us conclude this.
Yeah, okay, I'm seeing time's up.
Yes.
So initially I told you the problems that we have faced in practical terms, and we may still face, but there are also positives of this trend to go to blended learning. If you have a pandemic, for example, in engineering or physics, laboratory classes, it cannot be substituted online very easily. But we have come up with innovation like as a teacher, we carried out the experiment step by step and video recorded, shared with the students, and try to check their understanding by asking them questions in the form of a Viva question, which is not exactly what you want. You want much deeper, but under the circumstances, what can you do? This is the best. So there are good things also here.
Correct.
You see, in IIT, when I taught, I never used PowerPoint. And our IIT students do not like PowerPoint because teachers tend to go pretty fast. But because of this new knowledge or new innovations which have come, you can make use of it. PowerPoint, when I use now in the online, I use on an animation mode. Every sentence or every line I bring in only by clicking on the mouse.
Correct.
I don't show the whole thing.
Correct.
So
Correct.
that gives a little bit of gap between the, because in the process the students will learn, but you can profitably make use of it. And then also, for example, making a drawing on the board, which takes time, you can bring it from the net, and that will save your time, and you do the rest of the writing and explanation on the board. So that
Yes.
is offline. Finally, that students' attention, it is now all teachers around the world agree that not more than 20-25 minutes in today's world. So to keep them little engaged, you can bring in, you can show certain videos and so on. So that will make it more interesting, but that is coming out because of the blended learning went through to the blending process. So there are
Correct.
positives also. It's not everything is. That's what I wanted.
Yes. So definitely time's up, and keeping the clock and the next sessions in time, I'd like to conclude that we've really understood from all the eminent academicians that blended is going to be the order of the day. And there'll be different tools, there'll be different mechanisms in which quality will be ensured, which will help in not only just seeking jobs, but yes, creating jobs. Definitely startups and all of this will be coming up. One point which I not definitely so much agree is that teacher still is a master. We heard from the panel that today teacher is no more the master, because we are still in that ecosystem, and we would definitely want to be in that ecosystem, and would like to just bring in that Three Idiots thing, that at the end when he came and told that this pencil was invested, this typical type of a pen was invented, and we could not use a pencil because if the tip is broken, then that would damage something else. So students though are smarter, but yes, teacher is the supreme. And to conclude, I would like to say that we are still in the place where Guru is Brahma, and so Guru is the eternal thing for all. Thank you very much for joining for this panel session, and I would like the organizers to take it up from here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you to all our eminent panelists. I would like to request Mr. Gaurav Somani, sir, to please provide a token of appreciation to all our panelists. Starting with, we have Dr. R.S. Mudhol. Next, we have Dr. Kuldeep Kumar Raina. Next, we have Dr. Dwarika Prasad Uniyal. Can we have a huge round of applause for all our panelists, please? Next, we have Dr. Dinesh Nilkant. Next, we have Professor Bishnu. And I would like to request Dr. Kuldeep Kumar Raina to please present token of appreciation to Mr. Gaurav Somani, sir. Thank all our panelists on guiding us for managing between physical and mental presence in online classes, how much to blend in to maintain the balance and impart of knowledge, synchronous